There are rumors floating around that Google is doing another crackdown on mass AI-generated text. So in this episode of the podcast, I'm going to first share the slivers of knowledge and speculation around this. What's going on? Then I'm going to share how to avoid this crackdown. That's what I got for you on this episode of the show. Let's go. So it starts with this X post from Gagan, who said, "Seems like Google is issuing manual actions for scaled content abuse. I can confirm 2 which were issued last week, same day. Not sure about how many or what scale Google is issuing these actions. But stay safe if you are using AI content at scale and it's ranking well. A manual action perhaps will land in your search console." And this is a screenshot from Google Search Central about scaled content abuse and what it is. Scaled content abuse is when many pages are generated for the primary purpose of manipulating search rankings and not helping users. This abusive practice is typically focused on creating large amounts of unoriginal content that provides little to no value to users, no matter how it's created. Examples of scaled content abuse include, but are not limited to, using generative AI tools or similar tools to generate many pages without adding value for users, scraping feeds, search results, or other content to generate many pages, including through automated transformations like synonymizing, translating, or other obfuscation techniques where little value is provided to users. That second one could be confused with programmatic SEO, but at the end of the day, programmatic SEO oftentimes very valuable for users, especially when done properly. Whereas if you're just scraping feeds, doing programmatic SEO that's not valuable, that's where it's bad. And the comments in this, pretty interesting. Someone said, penalties equal punishment. Something I don't think some people get. A manual action is a punishment. You will suffer. You could have a switch that fixed everything in 30 seconds. Google will not lift that penalty unless you're a brand, so like a big brand, which Google is more lenient towards the biggest brands. Somebody said, in local SEO, I can see many such sites yet ranking. The author of the original X post, Gagan, said, "Yep, I think," and this is important, "I think the deciding factor for issuing a manual action for a site for some policy violation depends upon scale of queries and search results impacted. If local, probably that scale of results impacted isn't enough, and that's why there's no action." So Gagan is speculating that for a local business, the scale of queries, the scale of keywords and search results that is impacted, it's not enough to result in a manual action. And this idea around scale and velocity, I'm actually going to get into this a bit later on in the podcast. Another commenter said, "One of my friend's websites got hit as well." So it does seem like something is going on. And then somebody said, "I believe they warned everyone about this a month or 2 ago." And so now I'm actually going to share what Google said a month or 2 ago. So this is from April 9th this year. Search Engine Land shared it. Google quality raters now assess whether content is AI generated. Automated or AI generated content may now earn a lowest rating. Google is directing its quality raters to watch out for pages with main content created using automated or generative AI tools and rate them as lowest quality, according to Google's senior search analyst and search relations team led by John Mueller, speaking at Search Central Live in Madrid. So somebody shared a screenshot from this on LinkedIn. This is from the Search Quality Raters Guidelines. The lowest rating applies if all or almost all of the main content on the page, including text, images, audio, videos, etc., is copied, paraphrased, embedded, auto or AI generated, or reposted from other sources with little to no effort, little to no originality, and little to no added value for visitors to the website. Such pages should be rated lowest, even if the page assigns credit for the content to another source. So deeper in this article, it says, now how exactly would a rater know whether content is auto or AI generated? There is no guidance specific to AI generated content, but there is some new guidance around paraphrase content. And if you're wondering what Google's search quality rater guidelines are, so it's a super comprehensive set of instructions used by human evaluators to assess the quality of search results. Pretty straightforward. And Google employs approximately 16,000 quality raters worldwide, independent contractors hired through third-party agencies. And then their evaluations, they're used to improve and refine Google's algorithms over time. So yeah, how does a rater know whether content is auto or AI generated? And this is the guidance that Google gives around paraphrase content. And again, this is from that article on Search Engine Land. Automated tools can also be used to create paraphrase content by restating or summarizing the content on other pages. Paraphrase content can be much harder to recognize. Paraphrase content is likely to only contain commonly known information or generally known facts. That's super true. Generative AI is not very good at surfacing the most original stuff, especially contrarian stuff. Paraphrase content has a high overlap with web pages on well-established sources such as Wikipedia, reference websites, etc., appears to summarize a specific page, such as a forum discussion or news article without any added value, has words or other indications of summarizing or paraphrasing generative AI tools, such as words like as an AI language model. And, there's other ways now. For example, I think actually ChatGPT is using special characters. So for example, on some subreddits, on those more savvy subreddits, if you take text from ChatGPT and you paste it in a comment or a post, this is the case on the SEO subreddit, for example, literally there are special characters that ChatGPT uses and your post won't make it through. It'll be auto-flagged and it won't make it through. If you remove the special characters, then the post makes it through. Now, there's some super obvious ones like the M dash, which ChatGPT will demand that it uses. Even if you tell ChatGPT not to use an M dash, it will still use an M dash. But then there's also more subtle ones. There's language as well. ChatGPT uses a lot of buzzwords or a lot of emojis. And I'll get into this more in a moment. And then there was an article on Search Engine Journal, Google Unscaled Content. It's going to be an issue. And this one was from April 1st, just a few days before the one that I read. It talks about Google's update to the quality rater guidelines. But this is the part that will be really interesting. So this article says, doesn't matter how it's scaled, it's going to be an issue. Danny Sullivan, known as Google's search liaison, started his part of the discussion by saying that to Google, AI-generated content is no different than scaled content tactics from the past, comparing it to the spam tactics of 2005, when Google used statistical analysis and other methods to catch scaled content. Danny also emphasized that it doesn't matter how the content was scaled. So this is a paraphrase of what Danny Sullivan said. The key things are large amounts of unoriginal content and also no matter how it's created. Because what are you going to do about AI? How are you going to deal with the AI explosion? AI can generate thousands of pages. Well, 2005 just called, I'd like to explain to you how human beings can generate thousands of pages overnight that look like they're human generated because they weren't human generated, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you've been in the SEO space for a long time, you well understand that scaled content is not a new type of thing. So we wanted to really stress, we don't really care how you're doing this scaled content, whether it's AI, automation, or human beings, it's going to be an issue. So those are the things that you should consider if you're wondering about the scaled content abuse policy and you want to avoid being caught by it. And then there's a section, how to use AI in a way that adds value. And this will get us into the next section, which is how to avoid these penalties. But from this article, a helpful thing about Danny's session is that he offered an example of a positive use for AI, citing how positive use for AI in SEO, citing how retailers offer a summary of actual user reviews that give an overall user sentiment of the product without having to read the reviews. So Danny said, and this is again paraphrased, when I go to Amazon, I skip down to the reviews and the reviews have a little AI generated thing at the top that tells me what users generally think. And I'm like, this is really helpful. And the thing that's really helpful to me about it is the AI applied to original content, the reviews, to give me a summary. That was added value for me and unique value for me. So you have this original content, it's the reviews, the AI summarizes that, and that makes it unique and valuable. Then Danny finishes, he says, and then people's differentiation of what's quality is all messed up. and they say Google doesn't care if it's AI. And that is not really what we said. We didn't say that. And all of these links, by the way, they'll be in the description for this episode. All right, so how do you avoid this crackdown? Now, I want to preface this, and I want to say first understand that using mass AI-generated text, scaled content like this, it's a risk, and this risk is not necessary to make a ton of money with search engine optimization. I always advise the best shortcut is the long cut, and personally, I'm playing SEO for the long game. But if you still want to do it, and I'm serious, if you play SEO for the long game, you're going to win. You're going to make a ton of money, and you're going to be able to scale in a way that's a lot more natural. But if you still insist on using AI-generated tools or mass amounts of AI-generated text, I mean, everyone uses AI-generated tools. I use AI-generated tools. If you still insist on using mass amounts of AI-generated text, here's what you should know. So back on episode 608 of this show, that's titled SEO Shortcuts from a 25-year veteran, Bill Hartzer. This SEO veteran, he came on the show and he essentially theorized that Google doesn't want to put in automated systems just yet to discern AI written text. Putting in these automated systems to tell if text is AI written or not, that's expensive. Instead, Google will look at the velocity of new pages that are published compared to the previous publishing velocity. So if you're suddenly publishing so many more pages than is normal, and really a huge amount, not just you publish 10 articles in a day, but hundreds, then that could be a problem. And the X thread that I started this podcast with that speculated something similar, speculated that the amount of queries that you're ranking for, if it shoots up in an unnatural way, that's suspicious too. And that's similar in outcome, because if you have enough domain authority and you don't really need a lot, and you put up all of these AI generated pages, you're going to rank for a lot of keywords. It's going to work. The question is for how long. So whether the outcome is you're ranking for tons more keywords in an unnatural way, the velocity has completely changed, or you're putting up pages and you're putting up so many more pages than what's normal, and the velocity of your publishing, that's changed. The outcome is the same, and it looks suspicious to Google's algorithms. So instead, you control your content velocity. Don't go from 10 pages to 10,000 pages in a month. Instead, scale gradually. Maybe you go from 10 pages to, in a month, then you have 50 pages. And the next month you have 100 pages. And the next month you have 200 pages. But it has to be really gradual. Honestly, that may have even been too fast. Maybe 10 pages to then 30 pages or 35 pages, and the next month is 50 pages, and the month after that is 100 pages. You have to scale gradually. And as you're scaling, you should also be building links, and these pages, they should be indexed and they should be engaged with. You want to have a site that looks authentic and trustworthy. You should have real backlinks. You should have people searching your brand. Again, all of this stuff, it will actually work in the short term. But if you're not doing these things to have a legit brand, and again, the X commenter said, this is a punishment. The thing that will avoid this punishment is brand. If you're not putting in the work to develop a legitimate brand, it will work. And then you're going to get hit with a manual penalty, and it's going to be very hard to recover from that. Also, I put up an article last week, how to humanize ChatGPT content. This was based on a podcast that I made. That podcast did really well. So I turned it into my step-by-step directions on how to avoid sounding like your content is written by AI, by ChatGPT. The link for that will be in the description for this episode, but just some things to note. Use GPT-4o, it writes the best copy. Replace all M dashes with space, normal dash, space. Remove excessive buzzwords and excessive emojis. Add images and videos that's specific to your content. These really help, especially if the images are not AI generated and the video is not AI generated. If possible, manually proofread. Look for misarticulated ideas, hallucinations, overly wordy sentences. You can also use this custom behavior prompt. Credit again to Justin Feinberg for it. Go to settings, then personalization, then custom instructions. What traits should ChatGPT have? And then just enter in this a very short prompt. Say, write like a human. Keep it professional but conversational. Don't use M dashes or buzzwords like streamlined. Avoid sounding like a press release. Be clear, direct, and natural, like you're writing to a smart friend. So you can do those things. And the last thing which goes along with what I just said is, if it's possible, have a human reviewer who is reviewing and editing, not publishing raw AI output, looking for tone, clarity, accuracy, adding in personal experiences, original commentary, data, again, multimedia, that's important. But really the biggest thing from all of this is the velocity. You're going to be very unlikely to be hit with a manual penalty if you have like a few AI generated pages. But if you start putting up tons of them, and especially if you do it in a way that is so much faster than normal, and it doesn't even just have to be AI generated pages, they could be human written, but if it's so much faster than normal, the velocity is so much higher, that's when it's going to be a problem. So that's what to keep in mind if this is an SEO tactic that you're interested in. And if you want to learn a safe way to create scalable SEO landing pages, a safe way to create SEO landing pages that scale, a safe way to do it, you can check out my SEO course, Compact Keywords. It teaches just this, and these pages are meant, especially it's not blog SEO. You're not getting unqualified traffic or mildly qualified traffic. You are getting purchase intent traffic with my SEO method, Compact Keywords. It's a course that teaches this. 0 to 100 course teaches everything about SEO. If you're new to SEO or even advanced and you just want a better form of search engine optimization that's safer, faster, easier, makes more money, that's at compactkeywords.com. And this is episode 699 of my daily digital marketing show. Do this thing every day, 699 days in a row doing this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.